Hi everyone, this is Jason Zach from Nathaniel School of Music. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can build a simple set of modal chords, or maybe even simpler, a representing chord for a specific mode. Now, this concept can be explored further. It could be for any Melakarta raga or any Hindustani tat or any scale out there, really, which has ideally about 7 notes or so, or maybe even six or a couple more extra also. So I'm just going to keep this lesson very simple, and I'm not going to deal with too many scales because we'll run out of time. But do stay tuned to our channel. We are going to talk a lot more on modes. We have covered a lot on modes already, from the theoretical and from the ear training, and even from a piano practice perspective. We leave you a modes playlist as well. Also, if you want to learn this in great detail from ground zero, consider joining nathanielschool.com for a semester. Based on your current skill level, we can figure out a module for you. Okay, do consider hitting the subscribe button and hit the bell for regular notifications as well. And please also support us on Patreon, links in the description. Okay, let's get cracking. So if I take a scale, let's say B flat major, pretty simple scale. So if I visualize this scale from an intervallic perspective as a major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, octave, major seventh, major sixth, perfect fifth, perfect fourth, major third, major second, over. What is the one chord which works really well over this mode? It's also called as the Ionian mode, the major scale. So if you have to compare it with other major-esque scales, that's what I like to do to make this chord, or to build up a chord. If I have to compare the Ionian with the Mixolydian, or the Ionian with the Lydian, these three scales could be compared with each other. They are also used quite often. The Mixolydian is more similar to like the Kamaj rag, or the Lydian could be maybe the rag Yaman, or you can say Kalyani in Carnatic music. So all of that aside, the names aside, what makes these modes tick? What are their important notes? What distinguishes them from other similar scales? That's why I say major-esque scales, because the Ionian, the Lydian, and the Mixolydian all have obviously the root in common. That goes without saying. So the Ionian, the Lydian, the Mixolydian, all have a few things in common. Obviously, B flat. Then you have the third. The third is very, very important, and to some a lesser extent, even the fifth. So if you play a B flat major, or if you are in a group or in an ensemble and you play B flat major, I mean, this could. What would your fellow musician who's a melodic instrumentalist, or what would your singer or your violinist or your lead instrument do? You're giving them opportunity to play any of these three ragas. The Ionian, or Mixolydian, or the Lydian. But what if you give them a more obvious sound, obvious harmonic flavor, so that they have to play the Lydian or the Mixolydian while improvising no matter what? This is where you find the distinguishing notes. So what makes Lydian different from major? It has a sharp 4 or an augmented fourth. So what was once will now be. So major has a perfect 4, Lydian has an augmented 4, where you raise the perfect by 1. So you want to bring that out in your chord when you're projecting a chord for the audience. And Mixolydian has a flat 7. That's major. So to distinguish major from Mixolydian, Ionian from Mixolydian, the major chord is not enough. So Ionian has a major 7th. B flats major 7th is A. And Mixolydian would be B flats minor 7th is A flat. So this one chord, B flat major 7th, would at least prevent the musician, the melodic musician, from playing the Mixolydian, because you've given them the major 7. They cannot play Mixolydian over it. So now if you'd like to give them another chord, you could think about it, but for the most part, this chord has a major 3rd, perfect 5th, and a major 7th. What more do you need? You're giving them all the ingredients of a major scale. Now, if this were to be contrastingly Mixolydian, a B flat dominant 7th could work really well, because it cannot be you can't play that A anymore. You're trapped to play A flat. Okay, so you're kind of trapping the musicians or yourself as a singer to sing on that particular raga. And what about Lydian? If I play B flat major 7th, yeah, it is Lydian, but I could honestly go or I could do both. So why not play a B flat major with a flat 5? And don't give them the 5. It's a bit redundant. So, or you could play the 5 in your left hand. So so B flat major 7th, flat 5, or you could do a B flat major 7th, add sharp 4, anything to bring out the sharp 4 vibe as well as the major 7th. So this itself is pretty much Lydian. That works as well. This really works. 1, 3, 5 flat, 7 natural. You can call the 5 flat as 4 sharp. So just with a B flat major, you're not able to propel the sound of the major scale. It might be mixo, it might be Lydian. So what do? You do major 7th, and it's very much major-esque. You do Lydian, obviously Lydian, you can't do major there at all. Mixolydian. You might also argue, if I do a major 7th, can I also play Lydian? Yeah, you can. Because the sharp 4 is not mentioned. Okay, so another strategy I like when I'm jamming with an ensemble, especially an ensemble which allows me to do chord changes. Sometimes classical ensembles, where the drum instruments and all instruments are tuned to the shruti or the root and the fifth of the scale. It could be D flat. So almost the entire concert you're playing is on the key of D flat. In those cases, it's very tough to change the bass. Even the drummer looks at you sometimes and says, hey, what is happening? You're out of tune or something? Well, there are a lot of ensembles which will allow you to change chords, or a non-Indian classical ensemble, I'm sure you can do this. So what is the representing chord for a Lydian scale? That could be a major 7th, flat 5. But what if you keep it simple with triads itself? And let's say I want a group of 3 chords, and which are those 3 chords, when played in succession in some pattern, make it obviously major. So that would be in a major context, or in an Ionian, you could do, I'm on B flat. A great way to start is just look at 1, 4, 5. The odds of the 1, 4, 5 built triads encompassing the whole 7-note major scale are almost 100%. I think 100%. Yes. So if you take B flat major, it has the 1, 3, 5 in the scale. And if you take the F major, that'll be the 5, 7, 2. and what's remaining? The E flat major, which is the 4, which is the 4, 6, 1, 4, 6, 1. So you have all the numbers with the Roman 1 chord or the 1 major, the 4 major, and the 5 major. B flat, E flat, F, E flat, B flat. So if you do this in succession in a progression, also following the melody line of your song, it's a very safe way to play or to harmonize music over the Ionian or the Shankarabharanam scale. Of course, you can play minor chords in the remaining triads, but this is a good way to start accompanying a melody in a band, surviving in the band, if you will, because you're giving them the representing chords, it's major, it's positive sounding, and so on. What about Lydian? So if you build 1, 4, 5 from B flat Lydian, first of all, you have that sharp 4. So 1 major is not affected. But now if you go to 4, instead of it being an E flat major, it's going to be a 4 diminished or a 4 sharp diminished. And then 5 normal. So 1, 2, 2. Now, in my opinion, a Lydian scale which is very bright, dreamy, and shiny doesn't want a very scary, spooky, diminished chord, right? So find another available chord from the set. For Lydian, you can even do 1 and 2 major. And so on. So a good pool of chords would be find, of course, your tonic major you cannot live without, and then find one more chord, which in this case is the 2 major. The 5 works because it's major. Of course, it could sound more Lydian by playing a major 7th, because that will give you that E in it. Now, one more mode, right? The Mixolydian is pending. So if you take B flat major, obviously Mixolydian, Lydian and Ionian all have B flat major. But what the Mixolydian will have is it'll have the 1 major, 4 major, and the 5 minor. But another nice Mixolydian representing chord would be, since you want the major sounds in the chord, would be a 7 flat, A flat, very Mixolydian. Can even do an here and there a 5 minor. While major, Lydian, Mixo, okay. So So there are two ways to harmonically tackle a situation where you're a keyboardist or a guitarist or a polyphonic instrumentalist in a group filled with classical Indian musicians or musicians who don't use many chords. They use more ragas and ornaments for their melodies. So they tend to play on a drone. There's no major and there's no chord concept, but yet they appreciate you as a guitar player or a bass player or a pianist. What do you do in such ensembles? Number one, play a chord which gives people the confidence that, hey, the guy who's playing with me is not just a Tanpura replacement or a, one of those apps which plays you the drone these days are always there, like iTabla Pro or whatever. So you're not that. You're better than that. You're a musician. So what I would do is play that representing chord, let's say off the Lydian, and follow the tabla, follow the drum instrument. So you're rhythmically conscious, but harmonically you're giving them that survival chord which they're not going to scold you for, for not playing it. And the other way is, if you're allowed to play three chords, find the three chords that will survive in that particular raga, so to speak, and check with your fellow musicians, because it's new for everyone to have chords for raga music. So check with them and see, hey, is that fine? Will this work for this raga? Is this not too over the top? Whatever. You can ask these questions and get feedback and learn together with, because the people who have used this melodic sound traditionally are not used to the harmonic stuff, and you are not used to the melodic stuff, let's say. So you need to ask each other questions, jam with each other, compose with each other in order to improve the process of harmonization, so to speak. And also the melody line, when melody is tagged to chords, it makes the melody also a lot more stronger. So on that note, I'm done with the lesson. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to explore modes a bit more with minors, or even explore raga harmonization in general. We have a lot of these concepts which have been in our list of things to do based on your comment suggestions, so keep them coming. Also, if you'd like to join our inner circle, so to speak, where you can clear your doubts, send me your music, so your compositions or any exercises that you're working on for my feedback. You can consider being a Patreon member, links in the description. You could also consider being a student at Nathaniel School, learning vocals, guitar, piano, drums, or whatever. Reach out to one of our course advisors on nathanielschool.com. I will catch you in the next one. Cheers.